Mike,
Rock me.
what's going on, brother?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, doing well. Loving this
Good.
beautiful Thursday we got here.
Oh, man. I love it when wintertime hits in Colorado and we go from the frozen tundra to it's almost spring and it feels like we should be outside playing.
Right, right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I know we got a hot topic today. We're working with a lot of individuals right now, and kind of see that we need to put together a little video here and show them how simplified we can make this home buying purchase process.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think you're right, man. We get that question all the time that we're, with questions as to how the whole process goes, even from those who have bought homes before, because obviously
Yeah,
technology is changing and we're big believers in using that technology to help us move
absolutely,
fast and be good.
absolutely. It's
Yeah.
obviously a very, very scary time when you're buying a home. There's a lot of unknowns. You're obviously making one of the biggest purchases of your entire life, and you have the feeling like, oh shoot, did I mess up? Am I
Right.
destroying my future, my financial future? And yeah, I think with the tools and processes that we're going to talk about here today, um, kind of really makes you feel a lot more warm and fuzzy when you go through the process with us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why they
Well,
say
let's jump right
brokers are
into it.
better, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So I
Let's
think
jump right
it's
into it.
yeah, go for it. So
Well,
step
obviously,
one, right?
step one: call along, speak lending. Right down there, Michael put at the bottom of the screen for you. First thing you got to do, get in contact with us. Straight, very easy number. It's been around forever. Um, what do we do once we get contacted? What do you tell your borrowers first phone call?
Yeah. Usually I try to figure out what their goal is. Are they first time buyers? Are they downsizing? Are they upsizing due to a change in family scenario? Obviously we've done some divorce situations here of late
Yeah,
where, which is unfortunate, but it's the reality of those situations.
right.
So really it's just asking them, what's your goal? And then once we figure out what their goal is, I think you and I work very similar. We just try to get what they're comfortable with, right? Like if your goal is to buy a bigger house, cool. What do you think that bigger house should cost? Like, what do you think you can afford? Before we get anywhere, I want to know what their expectation is so that we can play within those expectations.
Right. Um, and I guess a good part of it, one of the technology tools that we really like, or I personally really like, is the online application process. It's a full 1003, which is Uniform Residential Loan Application. It is the document that we will submit to a lender, whichever one of our 72 lenders we decide to use. This is the main tool, and the best part about it is I've worked in retail and being a broker, being now a broker owner. I really like this tool because when we send out the application, it's a very question first formatted form. If that makes sense. It, I personally don't have to ask my borrowers all the real intrusive, questions. How much you make, what's your credit, your credit number, your social security number, things like that. And it gives you the ease and convenience and is worded very, very simply. And yeah, I feel this makes the process so easy. Even if you're not very tech savvy, I mean, it's just answering a questionnaire, more or less, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's I think the coolest part is that's really step two, right? Is the moment that we figure out that they're comfortable, we know what their goals are, we send them over that online application portal and we're able to um I mean it's simple. It's easy. They wander through it, set up an account, answer those simple questions. It guides you through the process.
Hmm.
Um and that
And those
really I
questions
think is the
are those
hardest part.
questions are those questions too are specific to as you fill out the 1003. It as you go along through the process. Are you a W-2 employee? Are you a 1099? Do you own your own business? It kind of breaks it down based on how you answer it. And then on top of that, to streamline the process even further, it knows exactly what documents will be required for underwriting. So it sends a shorter, itemized list of exactly what is needed right from the start. So that really lets the
Yeah.
borrowers know what we need to gather and to make it that much easier through the process, so we don't have to keep reaching back out, getting more documents throughout the process.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's really then right. Step three is that document gathering process. And to your point, Pat, just our system kind of reads the 1003 as you go, and then kicks out that automated email as soon as you're completed with that application. And truthfully, and we obviously go in and can edit it up, and if we see something that our system's missed, but it does make it really easy when the clients know right away. And then, really step forward then be that document upload, right? Just going through and uploading those things. And I think what's really great about the technology that we have in place is it's a very secure way of doing it. No one's sending an email to an email address, even though we hope all of our emails are very secure. There's no faxing anything in or
No.
scanning something to some random location. It's a secure portal that they have to use their authentication to get in to upload it to that secure server, which we
Hmm.
use in turn to process, to look at everything, process it on our end, and really bundle that loan package together. So,
Right.
it should hopefully make people feel good. It's not like the old days where you're running a stack of papers from one place to the next, right?
Yeah,
So,
scanning them in through an old Xerox machine, right? I don't
yeah,
think people know
yeah.
what Xerox is anymore. That's dating myself. I'm not that old either.
Not as many grays in that face like I got, brother. So,
I got one the
um,
other day.
uh, first world problem, dude. You're getting
I
old.
know. I know.
So step five, we got the docs. We run everyone through. I think the next step, this is really the big one that most people don't understand how we do our jobs. It's that automated underwriting process, right? And so the
Hmm.
AUS, you'll say that. Um, and really, AUS in its simplest form is an automated underwriting guideline that the underwriters have to follow and we have to follow based on your
But
loan criteria.
let me jump in real quick. To
Yeah.
our borrowers that may be very novice, let's break this down as novice as we can. What is an underwriter? What do they do in this process?
That's true, yeah. So the underwriter is the person who basically double checks our work and makes sure that the guidelines for the loan program are being followed and the documents we're uploading satisfy the conditions for that loan. So to prove your income, to prove who you are, to prove whatever it might be, right? It's really that double check of our work. Is that a good way to put
Hmm.
it?
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, everyone says underwriter. I don't think people truly understand exactly what an underwriter is. And obviously, I think we know have a pretty firm grasp on it, but a lot of people out there like, what do you mean an underwriter is asking me for more documentation on, my address history or something like that? And like, who's this underwriter?
Right.
I think that
Well,
sometimes people just glaze over that too quickly. Just wanted to
right.
get
Well,
everyone.
back it up. Yeah, back it up even a step further though, right? Like who are they underwriting to, right? So we have Fannie and Freddie and the guidelines that they have put together for the loan program. So it's not just the underwriter waking up one day and asking, what the deposit in your bank account is about. It's the fact that there's a rule in the handbook for whatever loan program we're going with to ask that question because it's been flagged for some reason, right? Yeah.
And obviously, this all gotten tightened up in a lot more regulations and certain steps, protocols we got to go through ever since our hard time back in 2008, 2009. But I think it's good. It ultimately benefits the borrower on the end. Really, just keeps everyone
Absolutely.
accountable. And it's a scary, scary thought. It's truly not a scary process when you're using uh, a good a good mortgage company such as ourselves.
Yeah, no. Hey, it can't. Yeah, like I said, technology, right, makes everyone's lives easier. It streamlines the process.
Live and
Yeah.
die by it,
So
man.
once,
100%.
yeah. So once we get through that automated underwriting process, right, and on our end, and we have that approve eligible, right? We're looking for that thumbs up, if you will, that digital thumbs up. Our next step is sending off to a lender. Pat, why don't you talk a little bit about that? What makes us unique again, and the fact that we can shop this around and find great deals for our clients.
Yeah, we have a great tool. Obviously, again, in that application portal, we have our set of tools that we use that we can price out this specific loan scenario with all of our different investors we work with. So we basically get a snippet of we throw in that loan idea or what we're looking to accomplish, and then all these lenders spit us back their cost and their price to get this deal done. And then we use our knowledge, our experience to really break down after that, having that first phone call and really seeing what this borrower was looking to accomplish. Then we figure out what is the ultimate best scenario, who's the best lender to use. That that step, I guess six, whatever we're on now, But that's more step
Yeah.
one. Really, step one for us is to figure out that best
Right.
program.
Right. And then, once you figure out that best program with the best rate, the best cost for that rate, obviously, a lender that if we're working on a tight timeline can get loans done super fast, or maybe someone who might do a unique property type, something on acreage or whatever it might be, more rural areas, since we're right on the cusp of that section of Colorado.
Yeah.
Once we get past that, really our next step two for us, step seven for the clients, is sending that guy into the lender and creating that loan estimate and that initial disclosure documents that they
Yep.
have to sign. And really, Pat, what's the most important part for them to understand about that process, about the loan estimate process? Because I know that's a
Like,
huge question we get all the time.
yeah, yeah, and obviously it's a big thing. When we've been sending out this big packet, could be 60 to 100 pages depending on the loan program. Um, there's dozens and dozens of little signatures or acknowledgments, as I like to call them, in this step of the process, because all you are is really acknowledging that yes, you want to move forward. There's one document in there, the intent to proceed, and that's really what gets it into the underwriter's eyes, and we can move forward with the process. Lets everyone know that you're serious about this transaction and you want to get the ball moving forward. But one of the most crucial items I tell my borrowers is this is nothing contractual, obligational, cost you $0 to do this step process. Really $0 throughout the entire step. The only thing that might be required is if we need to have an appraisal done on the property. That does get paid for ahead of time, but the underwriters, the lenders really want to see that you have skin in the game. You're serious about this transaction. So that's really the only piece that would be financially out of pocket before uh, culmination of the loan. So yeah, it's really just a step to say that everyone's serious. We acknowledge these documents. There's gonna be a couple more sets that come out that you'll have to be acknowledged as we go through the process, but it's really just a placeholder to get our file into the lender's eyes.
Yeah. And then obviously once the lender gets their hands on it, then we have the fun part of the underwrite, right? So that's the
Hmm.
initial underwrite, and the underwriter goes through, verifies all the documents we uploaded, puts a list of conditions together. And I know conditions sound scary, but really it's just really verifying the data we put in there. And there's always going to be a question, right? I feel like it's their job to double check and triple check. So I don't think it should hurt anyone's feelings when we ask for further information when you're taking out a loan to buy a home. But if we've done our job right, that conditions list should be pretty short, usually including things like homeowners insurance and title work, if there's appraisal required, right, and appraisal
Hmm.
documentation. Obviously, some tune-ups on the docs we put in place if needed. But that really, I mean, that's the conditional part. I think is really the easiest part, because that's where we didn't have that conversation again of, hey, things are looking great. We got that approved with conditions. Usually in that time, what we have the inspection going, we might have the appraisal scheduled. Um, Pretty easy stuff. I mean, it's really that's where hopefully the nerves are starting to calm down a little bit and people are feeling good.
Sometimes the nerves are ramping up because really at this
Right,
point,
true story.
there's nothing too much really that the borrowers need to do. This is more in our court, and we really are one on one with the underwriter, and then obviously if we need to go back and get further documentation, we'll pass that along. And obviously we keep our borrowers up to date every step of the process as it moves along. But
Yeah,
there's really not much for a borrower to do in this stage of the process.
yeah. And then once we get those conditions back, or we ask the clients for additional information, or we wait for title, whatever, and we get that final upload to the underwriters, that's when we can all take a big deep breath, because fingers crossed we have that clear to close. And Pat, why don't you
Clear to
explain what the clear to
close.
close really is like, or what it means? Because it's always important for the realtors, but I don't think the clients quite understand the gravity of what that means.
Yeah, clear to close. It's time to celebrate. Either we're going to be, depending on what we're doing with the mortgage process, whether we're buying a new house, congratulations, you're about to get a new home. Or refinancing, either you're going to get a lower rate, shorten term, uh, cash back in your pocket. Regardless, it's time to be excited because we are at the final stages here.
Yeah. And then once we get that clear to close, obviously we schedule closing, or closing's already scheduled if it's a purchase, right? And then
Hmm.
that's where title gets involved, and we make sure our docs are all back and forth, and we get that initial closing disclosure out. And Pat, much like that loan estimate, it's a pretty important piece of paperwork. Why don't you explain
Right.
why we push for a signature on that one pretty quick?
Yeah. Ever since the 2008, 2009 collapse, really got strict on the timing and how to do loans. This could be an entire another podcast we'll do, but it's a little dry, a little depressing too. But basically, there are certain steps that we have to hit, certain dates and timing dates in particular. Like you can't just go in and say, "I want a loan." Here's 100, 200, $400,000 to buy a house that day. It has to go through the different steps. And the biggest piece is that clear to or to get the initial closing disclosure out. Excuse me. Um, you have to acknowledge it with it before you can close the loan, before you can have the final docs sent. We're all around the signing table. You have 3 days we need to wait and cool off. Um, and that's just around the industry, but that's why timing sometimes closings need to get pushed, which we absolutely don't want to do because that can mess up so many different things. So it is important. That's why
Absolutely.
we really try to push to get that initial closing disclosure out as soon as possible, just so we hit those timing dates. We can still have time to mess around, fiddle with the numbers, get it exactly correct, but that just the timing piece is what's needed done on that
Yeah.
initial closing
Yeah.
disclosure.
Yeah, the initial closure, right? We're as close as we think we can get. Our guesstimates have usually turned into real estimates at that point on costs and
Hmm.
whatnot. And to your point, like things can change. If a date changes, it changes your prepaids, or if you get a different homeowners insurance quote or something happens, right? There's
Right.
always a few small, minute changes once the initial closing disclosure comes out.
And we see that
But
from
then,
title, right? Title's the ones that kind of go in there
yeah,
and really balance out everything. They know how much uh, you know taxes have already been paid on the property, for example, and like they balance out those numbers to when the seller needs to stop paying and you versus vice versa.
right, yeah, and then that once that's final, I think really the last step, which is either 8 or 9, I don't know where we left off on this one, I should have written them
Stop
down, right?
counting.
Um, is, the buyer, get if it's your buyer or a refinance, right, you get with title gets with you, and they go over either wiring instructions for
Hmm.
them receiving the down payment funds, or wiring instructions for them to send you funds if you're receiving some funds back, and really just make sure you're scheduled for closing, as that is the last step, right? Closing day, which is always always a blast, seeing that smile on people's faces, and
Oh
they're
yeah.
at the title office or wherever we're signing docs to see them enjoying that new property is a good thing. And get the picture with the big key
Oh
or the
yeah,
big
the big
frame. Hey, I'm
key,
a
the
homeowner,
picture
right?
frame.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's always the
post on your
best. So
social media.
uh,
Absolutely. But yeah,
absolutely,
then there's
and
really the closing piece. Yeah, obviously you're going to sign. You think you're signing your life away, but we would have already explained all these numbers, all these figures, the amortization of your loan, which your payments, how long you're gonna be paying on, how long is the pricing going to change? Do we have any buy downs on it? Do you have an FHA? Is private mortgage insurance going to roll off? Well, that will all be explained, so you'll have a very firm grasp of what you're going to be paying every single time and what to expect. So before you even walk in that closing room in the title company or wherever it might be, because we also do remote closings as well. Um,
yeah,
you're going to feel very confident in your purchase. And so I haven't seen anybody really overly nervous when we walk in, but every time somebody leaves, they're very, very excited.
absolutely. And then that really winds down the process. Short of what we do on our end, because we do believe in earning clients for life, right? Is we follow up, 30, a few days after, right, and make sure everything's good, right? And we usually always love to send little surprise gifts and whatnot off to our clients and
Oh yeah,
welcome them home. It's that's a fun part of our jobs for sure.
absolutely.
And and then we follow up, in that within that first 30-ish days, when you get your servicing figured out and everything. Usually we have an email sent off to you explaining how to pay your mortgage, where's that payment going, how to set up an online account,
Hmm.
all those items that go into the actual taking care of your mortgage. And then, I know you and I are real good about follow-ups, not necessarily every single month, but pretty frequently, just to make sure everyone's doing good. I mean, I don't after talking to us 100 times in a month, I think some people like not hearing from us
Might want
for
to
a
take a
minute.
break.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but I know we love following up with people, whether it be, texts or emails, phone calls, just to say hi. The birthdays, holidays, things, just to say, hey, hope you really are enjoying that house. And really, that home buying process feels so stressful when you look back on it. Hopefully, you're like, hey, those guys, those brothers, they did us right. So
That's our goal. Every time you think about your mortgage, you want to think of the mortgage bros and us here at Long Peak Lending. Um, but yeah, I mean, Mike, you got anything else to add?
no, I was just gonna say, listen, if anyone has any questions about the home buying process, or there's a specific, unique question you have to your process itself, or if you're stumbling across this and you're already in the process, we'll be answering those questions for you too. Just because you might be out of state or working with someone else doesn't mean that we don't want to talk to you. We'd love to help you where we can, as we consider ourselves, more mortgage advisors than sales guys. So we'd love to help you out. Hit us up,
Absolutely.
Burrows at Long Peak Lending, or you can call or text our main line, 303-888-8884. Pat, listen, if you don't have anything else, I hope you have a great rest of your week. Maybe we can go
I'll
enjoy
try.
some of this weather here before we get out. So,
I will try. You as well. Say hi to the wife and kids for me, and we'll
I will.
talk with you soon, man.
Sounds like a plan. Be good. Happy
All
day.
right.
See you
Happy
in the next
day. We'll
one.
see you, folks.
Bye.